The weight of the small, velvet-covered box in my suit pocket felt heavier than a block of lead. It wasn't just the antique compass inside, a family heirloom I'd saved for this exact moment. It was the weight of 15 years of love, sacrifice, and fatherhood. My stepdaughter, Chloe, was graduating from college, summa cum laude. And I, the man who had taught her to read, to ride a bike, and to drive a car, had never been prouder. The backyard was a sea of celebratory chatter and the smell of grilled burgers. I scanned the crowd, my eyes searching for her cap and gown, my heart swelling with an emotion so potent it almost brought tears to my eyes. Then I saw her. A vision in blue, her smile lighting up the afternoon. She was walking towards the patio, and our eyes met for a fleeting second. I smiled, ready to envelop her in a hug, to tell her how immensely proud I was. But her gaze slid right past me, as if I were a stranger, a piece of the furniture. Her focus was fixed on something or someone behind me. A man I didn't recognize was standing near the oak tree at the edge of our lawn. He was tall, with a kind of rugged, unkempt charm, wearing a leather jacket that looked out of place among the sundresses and polo shirts. Chloe's pace quickened, her smile widening into something ecstatic. She broke into a run and launched herself into his arms. "Daddy!" she cried, a word I hadn't heard her use for him since she was 4 years old. The man was Mark, her biological father. The man who had walked out on her and my wife Sarah when Chloe was just a toddler, chasing some vague dream of being a musician on the West Coast. In the 15 years I had been in Chloe's life, Mark had been a ghost, a name mentioned in hushed, bitter tones. He'd sent a handful of birthday cards with crumpled $20 bills and made maybe 3 awkward phone calls. He was not her father. I was. I stood frozen, the compass in my pocket now feeling like a shard of ice against my leg. My wife Sarah materialized at my side, her hand on my arm. Her grip was tight, her knuckles white. "David, she started, but her voice trailed off. She looked from my stunned face to the emotional reunion happening under the oak tree. There was a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but it was quickly masked by a strained, placating smile. "Isn't this nice?" He wanted to surprise her. Surprise me was more like it. The party swirled around me in a confusing blur. Mark, the prodigal father, was suddenly the guest of honor. He was ushered to the head table, placed right between Sarah and Chloe. My seat, the one with the proud dad balloon tied to it, was quietly moved to the end, next to a distant cousin I barely knew. Every camera flash seemed to mock me. They posed for a family photo, Chloe, Sarah, and Mark. I was asked to take the picture. My hands trembled as I held up my phone, framing the smiling faces of the woman I loved and the daughter I raised, beaming next to the man who had abandoned them. It felt like I was documenting my own erasure. I tried to rationalize it. Chloe was an adult now. Maybe she was curious. Maybe she wanted to reconnect with a missing piece of her life. I could be the bigger person. I could understand. So I waited. I waited for a moment to give her my gift, to have our moment. After the speeches, where Mark was thanked profusely for giving her life, and I received a polite, generic mention as David, who's been a great help, I saw my chance. Chloe was standing alone by the gift table. "Chloe, honey," I said, my voice softer than I intended, "I am so proud of you. I have something for you." I pulled out the velvet box. She glanced at it, her expression unreadable, almost bored. "Oh, thanks," she said, not taking it. "Listen, can this wait? Mark is about to tell the story of how he almost opened for the Black Keys. It's wild." She turned and walked away before I could even respond, leaving me standing there with my hand outstretched, holding 15 years of memories in a tiny box. The humiliation was a physical thing, a hot flush that spread from my chest to my face. This wasn't just a daughter being curious about her roots. This was a deliberate, cold-shouldered dismissal. The rest of the evening was a masterclass in being invisible. When the father-daughter dance was announced, my heart leaped with a foolish glimmer of hope. I had taught her how to waltz in this very living room for her high school prom. But the DJ called out, "Let's have Chloe and her father, Mark, take the floor." I watched from the shadows as she rested her head on his shoulder, swaying to a song I didn't recognize. Sarah stood beside me for a moment, her silence deafening. "She's just excited, David. It's a big day. Don't take it personally." Don't take it personally? How could I not? I had paid for the caterers, the decorations, the cap and gown. My name was on the tuition checks that had gotten her through 4 years of university. My savings account was significantly lighter because I had just bought her a certified pre-owned car as a graduation gift, a surprise I was supposed to reveal at the end of the party. Now I felt like a walking ATM, a convenient placeholder who was no longer needed now that the real dad was back in the picture. I couldn't take it anymore. The air in the backyard felt thick and suffocating. I needed to leave. I mumbled an excuse to Sarah's sister about needing to get something from my car and retreated into the quiet of the house. The silence was a relief. I walked through the living room, my eyes tracing the photos on the mantelpiece. Me and Chloe at Disneyland, her missing 2 front teeth. Me helping her with a volcano for the science fair. Me, Sarah, and Chloe on a dozen family vacations. Was it all a lie? A long-term performance? As I reached the front hallway to grab my keys, I heard voices from the kitchen. Sarah and her sister, Amy. Their words were hushed, urgent. "You can't keep doing this to him, Sarah," Amy whispered fiercely. "Look at him out there. He's heartbroken. He looks like a ghost." "What was I supposed to do?" Sarah's voice was defensive, strained. "Mark was coming whether I liked it or not. We had to get Chloe on board. It's better this way, to just rip the Band-Aid off, make the transition clean." My blood ran cold. Transition? What transition? Amy sighed, a heavy, frustrated sound. "A clean transition? You call this clean? You've been seeing Mark for a year behind David's back. You let David pay for this entire party, for Chloe's car, knowing you were going to leave him. This isn't a transition, Sarah. This is a betrayal of the highest order. And coaching Chloe to ignore the only real father she's ever known? That's just cruel." The floor seemed to fall away beneath me. An affair for a year. My mind reeled, frantically connecting dots I hadn't even seen before. The late-night work calls, the sudden weekend trips to visit old college friends, the emotional distance that I had attributed to stress. It wasn't stress, it was Mark. And Chloe knew. This wasn't her being starstruck by her long-lost father. This was a calculated, orchestrated performance to push me out. They were humiliating me to make their future reunion easier. They were erasing me. Suddenly, the compass in my pocket felt different. It was no longer a symbol of guidance and love for her future. It was a symbol for my own. I needed to find my own direction, out of this house of lies. A cold, hard resolve settled over the white-hot rage in my chest. I turned on my heel and walked back out to the patio, my footsteps steady and deliberate. The party noise seemed to fade into a low hum. I walked straight to the table where Sarah, Mark, and Chloe were laughing at some shared joke. I stood before them, and the laughter died on their lips as they saw the look on my face. I didn't raise my voice. I spoke in a low, even tone that was somehow more chilling than shouting. "Sarah," I said, my eyes locked on hers. "I just overheard your conversation with Amy, the one about your year-long affair and the clean transition." Sarah's face went bone white. Mark looked confused, then a flicker of understanding and arrogance crossed his face. Chloe just stared, her mouth slightly agape. "The car I bought you, Chloe," I continued, my voice dangerously calm. The one I paid for from my savings account? The one I was going to give you the keys to tonight? Consider the offer rescinded. The dealership is getting a call first thing Monday morning. The joint account that paid for this party? It's being frozen. Sarah, my lawyer will be in touch with yours, or I guess with Mark's lawyer. I'm sure he's got a great one from all his rock and roll money. The sarcasm dripped from every word. I looked at Chloe, the girl I had tucked into bed 1,000 times. The pain was immense, a physical ache in my chest. I loved you like you were my own. I thought you were my own. I hope he's worth it. I didn't wait for a response. I turned my back on the wreckage of my family and walked away. I didn't look back. I got in my car, the engine roaring to life in the quiet street. As I pulled away from the curb, I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. I saw the string of party lights, the blurred figures on the lawn, the whole perfect-looking facade. It was all a mirage. I had spent 15 years building a home, only to find out I was just a temporary guest. The road ahead was dark and unknown, but for the first time all night, I felt like I was heading in the right direction. I was no longer a ghost in my own life. I was finally free.